It's past the Vazul, baby.
Come on in.
Well, hello, Screamers! Welcome to the Scream It Till You Like It podcast. I am Clint, likes Reese's Pieces too. And by the way, I hope you're still screaming. I hope you're starting to like it. I am joined here today again with, for fuck's sakes, E.T. the Extra Testicle, aka Evil Mike, and also with Adam Magic Finger, who, by the way, ouch. Yeah, I love your jacket, by the way.
Thank you.
Even though it does look like you were shopping at Elliot's yard sale on your way in here, or the last Salvation Army he stopped at.
Yeah,
But, it's
definitely
beautiful.
on purpose.
I love it. I came prepared too. I have my Reese's Pieces, and I also want to throw out a couple of other things, because even though I'm not super like exposed to this movie, like I know of it, it's been, part of pop culture for a really long time, and I did technically see it once when I was a kid, but honestly the way that went was my mom like took us kids to see it, and I totally fell asleep in the theater, and like I saw like the beginning and the end, and that's how that went. So for years of my life I was missing like almost the entire middle of the movie. So I'm glad that I finally went back and like took care of that. I do have a signed copy of E.T. that is signed by Dee Wallace. So
That's cool. That's awesome.
Probably got that back around like 2007. She was at a convention in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, called Horror Find, and this is the crowning gem. This is the thing right here. My wife actually had this. She had this from when she was a child, and up until a couple of years ago, it was still in the original plastic bag. This is a McDonald's toy.
Wow.
Of E.T. It's a wind-up that doesn't work. It's basically, I think, because
it looks vaguely familiar.
Yeah,
I might have had that thing.
Maybe. It never got used. So like you can wind it. It feels like it's doing something, but never gets tight, and the feet don't really move. So
yeah,
like, I think just sitting there in the bag was actually kind of bad for it. So anyhow, in case you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about E.T. And I kind of wanted to just go around, since I gave you my story with my exposure to this movie. I wanted to find out what your stories are. So
let's let Adam go first.
Yeah, Adam, you go
Since
ahead.
he went through the whole trouble and he probably took that jacket off a little kid. It's like, hey kid,
I knocked some kid down and took his bike and took his.
Give me that goddamn jacket.
I was pedaling on my way to the podcast.
You know what else it reminds me of? What was his name? Reggie in like Friday the 13th Part 5.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like Shavar Ross.
Yeah,
his red. Anyhow, I'm sorry. You were saying
I can do all kinds of cosplays this year.
That's right.
This was the very first movie I ever saw. First movie. I was 4 years old. Mom and Dad took me to the theater. I mean, I don't remember that experience whatsoever. But I'm told that I bawled my eyes out. At the scenes that any little kid would. The scenes where everybody's dying.
Right.
There's a part in the movie where everyone's dying, and that was the part that I was devastated at. But this movie's always kind of been in the in my back catalog. Like I was kind of obsessed with it when I was a kid. My parents, I got one of those records. You remember, like back in the day, they had those records that would play like clips. There'd be like a narrator, but they would also play like clips of the movie and like some of the music and stuff. Like they did that with like Goonies and Star Wars too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I had that record and I listened to it all the time. And so yeah, just the first movie I ever saw, period, and just a big fan of it ever since.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm sure you have a similar experience.
And you know what? I said, since I haven't seen it in years, I said I'm going to give it an all-American try, and I'm going to give it a fair chance, and maybe something will change. And I watched it again. I said, I'll do it for Adam. I said, I'm going to give it. But you know what? This movie can still go suck a dick.
Wow.
I fucking loathe this movie.
Whew.
I saw it in the theater, and it was one of those movies we just, as my dad and my mom, we just went, and I was like, I really didn't have say. I was like, but I didn't care for it as a kid. I don't get why everybody cries for this movie. I think he's the worst looking alien or creature to ever be on a silver screen. It's like, you don't put this in my fucking head for years and give me aliens and then give me that fucking turd. That like somebody took a fucking hot steamer in the toilet and looked and said, hey, we can make that. There's nothing about that movie I like. So I'll try and be fair in this movie. I'll try and in this podcast. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's
incredible. So you were taken against your will to see this movie.
Gunpoint, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Get in the car, kid.
They threw a pillowcase over your head and shoved you in the car, and off you went to the theater. You're like, oh no. Holy shit.
And then I think I've told you guys before, E.T. made me get slapped at Disney World by my father.
Oh.
Because we went on the E.T. ride. And I knew when you went on the ride, before you got into the car, as you passed, there's a microphone, and they tell you to say your name into it. So everybody, my father, everybody. So when I got there, I said, asshole. And when you came out of the ride, there was E.T. and he was like, bye, my parents. He's like, bye, Paula. Bye, Anthony. Bye, Melissa. He's like, bye, asshole. And I thought it was hysterical. I was like, this is great. Until I felt the fucking hand slap me. Fucking. My father was like, you got to come to Florida. You got to show everybody what a jerk you are. I was like, God. So I was like, fuck you, E.T.
Oh. Now it's all starting to make sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense.
These memories that are coming up as you're watching E.T., you're like, yeah, fuck this guy. Hate this movie.
My father failed to see the humor in it that I did.
Yeah.
I think I might have laughed at that.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty damn funny.
It is funny.
Oh, man. Well, then. I guess there's no reason why we can't just break right into it. This movie made in 1982 clocked in at about an hour and 55 minutes. And we were just remarking off mic before we started this. That's a long time to expect a kid to sit in the theater and look at this.
It goes by like that. It's so good, though, right? It's like, boom, where did the time go?
Yeah,
Let's watch it again.
What did I say in Discord when we were watching it? I think it feels like we've been watching this for like 6 hours.
No, yeah. But that is a long time for a kid.
Yeah,
for sure.
I could see how it would grab a kid's attention. The right kid. I mean, it didn't do that to me. Like I just explained, I fell asleep during this sumbitch.
Yeah.
But honestly, I wish I had stayed awake for it because I feel like I would have I would have had a different perspective walking into it, watching it now as a 45-year-old man. You know what I mean?
I can't believe you missed it. You've missed like a second viewing this entire time. Like
It just never came up. You know
just
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. There's always some other movie to go see. You know, it's like my parents took me to see it. They're like, "Oh, check that one off the list." You know what I mean? And we never watched it again. We were watching shit like Star Wars, like
Yeah.
over and over and over. They're showing me show tunes, you know, all those musicals that you hate. You
All
know
right.
what I mean? Well, I mean, they didn't really waste any time with this movie. Like immediately you get like a wooded mountainside, I believe, and you get like a spaceship opening up, and you get a bunch of these creatures already like in the woods, you know, like walking around, checking shit out.
Yeah.
At one point, they all got heartburn at the same time.
Yeah.
That was kind of interesting, and I don't even feel like bad calling it that, because that's kind of what it was. Their hearts were glowing. You know what I mean? To me, it's like a visual representation of indigestion. But
Oh yeah.
They all hit Taco Bell right before they.
I felt that after Atlantic City.
yeah,
I was glowing like that in the hotel room.
yeah, yeah. But in seriousness, I think they were trying to show us the emotional connection between all of the creatures when they were together.
Yeah, how they were linked up.
Yeah, and that might have been some form of communication, you know, them being near one another. So I mean, there's one that seems to be a little bit more curious than the rest of them, and he's a little bit further away from the ship, and he's checking stuff out. And the next thing we know, we get like what looks like a pickup truck full of rednecks show up, and they start poking around and looking. I think we find out pretty quickly that they're not rednecks, that they're like government agents of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
They're drawn to the location because I guess they were looking for that type of disturbance. But again, not explained. They just show up. And it's almost like they get really excited, the aliens, and they start piling back onto the ship.
Yeah.
And of course, this one that's really far away takes off running. I mean, he's like squealing and, you know, like desperately trying to get back to the ship. And you get to see like all these guys start running after it. And I feel like they did a really weird like camera like shot choice here. Like we get a nice close up of the dude's like crotch.
Yeah.
As he's running, and like the jingling keys, you know, like I'm glad it wasn't sweatpants season, because we might have gotten a jingling something else happening. He was wearing jeans, so we were okay. Ship takes off. I don't know if I was a big fan of the design of the ship.
Looked like a big titty Christmas ornament.
Yeah. Yeah. The spaceship is a little wonky. I'll give you that.
That's my goal by the end of this podcast, is to turn at him.
Yeah, turn him into someone else.
It'll be Palpatine and Luke situation. It'll be like,
yeah. He'll make you loathe this movie by the end.
He's going to be like Annie. By the time this podcast ends, his eyes are going to turn yellow. He's like, fuck E.T.
That's right. So like they do the whole thing where they show Elliot's house at this point. So we go right from that, boom, we're into the house, watching these kids sitting around a table. Were they playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, that was kind of the impression I got about that, because they mentioned, you know, like the game master or something like that.
Right.
I couldn't see a cigarette, but it almost looked like somebody was smoking there.
No, there was one. If you do pass it, it's sitting in the ashtray.
Yeah, they were smoking cigarettes.
Okay. And I couldn't tell if they were drinking beer or not, but I when I saw the smoke, I kind of assumed that maybe they were, but I could be wrong. They could have had something else. But
D. Wallace had no problem with the cigarette smoking.
Mm-mm.
But when they ordered a pizza, she was like, "Who said you can order a pizza?" I was like, "But
Yeah,
Smokey, that's
mean-
all right."
they didn't respect her at all. Like all her kids call her Mary. They don't even call her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
like I think she had more of a almost like sister relationship with the kids than maternal almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, and at first I didn't even think that there was a parental type person there because you didn't see her. You just see these kids, all huddled around this table. So it's the older brother and a bunch of his friends who came over to play D&D. And they ordered a pizza. Elliot wants to play, but they're like, you got to talk to the dungeon master. And they're like, go get the pizza. You know what I mean? So he ends up going down to get the pizza from the delivery guy and paying for it. I mean, man, the 80s were a different time. I would never let my little kid like that just go down to the end of the driveway and pick up the pizza. Oh, here's the money. Go down and get that. You know what I mean?
I thought that he did that in secret though. Because I actually think they had the pizza guy meet him at the end of the alley or whatever, so that the mom wouldn't know about it. Like I don't think she was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this was all stealth mode. I think it was under her nose.
For some reason, the pizza thing was like a covert operation. It was like,
no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
They did it without asking her.
Right.
And he just got the job. Somehow he's distracted by a noise, makes it into the backyard, lays the pizza on the ground, which that's the craziest thing to me. I would never lay a hot pizza on the ground. I mean, what are you trying to do? Get slugs or something in there? Or, I mean, it's like, put it on the damn table. What's your problem? Anyhow,
right.
He picks up a ball and glove, chucks it into
party foul.
Yeah, chucks it into the shed. It comes rolling back out like something threw it back. So he freaks the fuck out, goes to run into the house, steps on the pizza and trips. And and he's telling them that there's some creature outside, and he's getting all upset about it. They don't believe him. They're laughing at him. And he says, no, there's really something out there. Kids start grabbing kitchen knives, which I think is kind of weird. She's like, put those knives back. And as you say, they don't respect her. They take the knives outside.
Penis breath.
Yeah.
To me, that was the best part of the movie. That actually made me crack up.
It made them all crack up. You see, Dee Wallace, she was almost pissing herself.
Yeah, that's like,
and that was it was real laughter too. You could tell.
Yeah, she couldn't hold that back, and I was wondering if that was their best take or if they only did it once. You know what I mean? And just left it. They're like, that's good enough, because it is kind of fun.
Spielberg was doing some weird directorial things on this one. There was a lot of ad-libbing going on. I don't think penis breath was in the script.
Right?
I'm calling it a hunch. I don't think he wrote that.
Yeah.
I like when they're like, which one? They're like, maybe it's a deformed kid or something.
Yeah.
And Gertie's just sitting there and she's like, deformed kid. They're all just like, yeah, you're a spaz, Elliot.
Yeah. He was like,
no
it was
one
nothing
will
like
believe
that.
Yeah. No one will believe poor Elliot.
No, of course not. So, I mean, he goes back outside after everybody goes to bed because he just can't let it go. And he manages to follow the footprints into the cornfield, finds the creature, scares the shit out of it, scares the shit out of him, and it runs away. He is undeterred by this. He wants to see it again, I guess, because he takes his bike all the way up into the mountains there. How he had that leap of logic, I'm not sure. I mean, just the direction that it ran away. And he starts chucking out Reese's Pieces. Because
we didn't have pizza. He already fucked that
why
up.
not?
He had to go for the next thing he had.
That's right.
Who doesn't like Reese's Pieces?
Exactly. And I imagine there was probably some sponsorship money in there.
Oh yeah. This was the first major sponsorship thing in product placement in the movie. They went to M&M's first, and M&M's were they were basically like Mike. Look, he looks like an uncircumcised dick. There's no way we're putting that on bags of M&M's.
That's what the shit you take looks like after you eat a bag of M&Ms. We don't want that kind of shit. Fuck.
But they went to M&M's first, and they said no. So then they went to Reese's Pieces, and they were like, sure.
Wow, that's cool. Gave him a whole bunch
Go
of
to
money
town.
and said, "Here you go. Put our product all through this movie.
Yeah.
We want to see it prominent." And that was one of the funny things about that. I mean, he chucked all that out, and of course he sat at home and waited for it to come, and it did. But he immediately goes to baiting again, so he's laying more Reese's out to get him into the house and up into his bedroom. And this time we can clearly hear it eating them.
Yeah.
So and I guess he chews, because I could hear the you know what I mean. So we did learn that about E.T. He doesn't just like swallow things whole; he chews.
It's important.
That is important. Now, but we did do a cut to the mountains, and we got the dude with the keys, which I find that hilarious. That he's like on IMDb, they literally call his character.
Yeah, he's just called Keys. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he finds a small pile of Reese's Pieces, and he bends down, he picks one up, and he eats it. Like you hear him chewing it. And I'm like, that's a really weird thing to do. I don't think I could see like a small child not knowing better, about what's laying on the ground, to like bend down and pick up a piece of candy and maybe eat it. I don't expect an adult to do that.
Could have been laced with something.
It could have been, or for all we know, E.T. is like one of those cats that eats the coffee beans. You know what I mean?
Craps them out whole.
Yeah, he grabs him out whole, and he just ate one that went through an extraterrestrial. We don't know what happened to this. You know what I mean? Right? It's like, and we find out later that the guy, knows about these creatures, so it's like he didn't have this thought himself. I don't know. So whatever.
Maybe that was his fetish by that point. He was just like,
yeah. Maybe that's how he knew it was there.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, I can taste the essence. It's we get none of that explained to us. No, he just eats a piece of candy like it was sitting in the jar on his coffee table.
Guess he was trying to. He just had a. Like, I'm not going to defend it. It was a weird, like, who eats this random candy they find sitting in the the woods.
You can't just go to the store and buy a bag and like a normal person.
I don't care how long. Like, it wasn't even in a bag.
Yeah,
even that would be a little risky. It was just sitting there, unopened.
Yeah,
with raccoon urine on it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I even though I'm poking at it, I still kind of get it. It's a clue, he's stomping through the woods looking for something he's certain is still there, and he's not finding it, but he finds this candy. And I do believe that right after that they end up at the edge, looking out over the town. So they're like, okay, stands to reason.
That's where he went.
He went to town.
Yeah.
And someone is hiding him. So like, none of that's explained to us, but looking at it now as an adult, I'm kind of like piecing that together. Yeah, that's kind of logical, and I can see the flow. Elliot, from being outside all night, wakes up kind of with a fever, and mom's kind of pissed at him. Oh, yeah, you're hot. You were outside last night, weren't you? It's like you would think that she would know this about her kid, in my opinion, and like might get up like once a night to check to see what's happening. Everybody's in their bed. But yeah, she seems to be one of those that's a little self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And probably because she's upset about, the dad taking off and he's in Mexico with Sally, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And he hates Mexico, but he's there anyway. I thought that was an interesting thing to throw in there too.
He's in Mexico, but he's really in Sally, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So the mere mention of Mexico gets the mom upset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she lets him stay home from school, but she's like, I'm still a parent, no TV. So
The old thermometer on the lamp,
Yeah, I was gonna say because he's not really sick,
which
right?
doesn't work at all.
He had
Yeah.
well, he also had like the hot water
Yeah, he was putting it on his head.
compress on his head.
I did that when I was a kid,
And then
and I showed her. I was like, "Mom, I'm sick," and she looked at the mom. It was like 113 because I had it right on the light bulb.
which means like he should have been dead.
Yeah,
yeah. She's like, you should have been dead like 7 degrees ago.
Really?
It's a miracle.
Yeah. So yeah, he was faking that to stay home. Clearly the oldest son doesn't drive very well either, because he like tried to back the car down the driveway and he like banged into the wall first, and then
What the
And
fuck
he
was he doing? Yeah,
he was like doing some weird serpentine down the driveway. I don't know what was up with that, but he finally gets to the street and like straightens it out.
Because
But
that's all
yeah.
she let him do was back out, right? Like he wasn't allowed to drive. I don't even think he had his learner's permit. All
Yeah.
she let him do was like back out,
Right.
which he
And
didn't do very well.
No.
And I think they explain that later in the movie, like much later towards the end of it, where he makes the comment, "I've never driven forward before."
Yeah.
You're right.
So yeah, so he hangs around the house. We find out that Harvey doesn't care for the alien very much. That's their dog, and he like decides we're just gonna bond over Star Wars toys and piggy banks.
I always geek out over this over that scene though, because all of those retro toys that he has.
I
He's
know,
got like
right?
the little Greedo and the
Greedo and-
Lando and everything. Like I had all those little action figures when I were a kid. They were awesome.
Yeah, I wish I had those. My parents didn't buy that stuff. Like I would go over to other kids' houses who had them and be insanely jealous.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and he makes him something to eat. So he's just trying to figure out what the alien creature likes to eat. I mean, now that we've checked, Reese's Pieces off the list, let's find out if he likes cheese, milk. His brother's the first one to get home, and he shows E.T. to him first, and like makes him promise he's not going to tell anybody. They have this really weird scene about that, which I think clearly illustrates, what their relationship is like. Gertie sees him by mistake, screams. That's like Drew Barrymore's famous acting thing of her childhood, is screaming at E.T.'s face.
Yeah.
I remember that clearly. Elliot basically explains, once they hide him from the mom, that he wants to keep him. He's going to keep him kind of like a pet. I think this is the first part where we get like an idea of his telekinetic capabilities, because they bring him more food. They're hiding him in the room still. Gertie brings him a dying plant. I don't know why, but she does. Elliot's like showing him a map. Oh, here's where we are, California. Shows him a globe. Where are you from? And I don't know if he's actually attempting to like show like planets or something like that, when he like mentally has that shit lift up off the table and like spin around in the room for a second before he hits the floor. But he basically gestures outside, points up into the sky, more or less.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like he was making noises at this point. Did it sound to anybody else like he was growling like a cat? I really felt like he was. It's like,
yeah. I think I had heard that the voice actress who did E.T. They also mixed purring, and I'm not making that up, to make it to make E.T. more what's the word I'm looking for? Like lovable,
appealing, yeah.
appealing, yeah. Mike will probably be interested in this. The voice actress that did who did E.T.
Mhm.
She was like this old chain smoking lady. That's why like the voice sounds like that. But she also did the voice. You remember when Princess Leia is disguised as the alien in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
She's like Shay Shoto, and she's got the little
Yeah.
bomb thingy. It was the
Yeah.
same person who did
Really?
the
Wow.
voice of E.T. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
I like
There's a
that.
lot of Star Wars drops in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Yoda costume and
Well,
Oh yeah.
the Yoda costume I read was a deliberate like joke from Spielberg to Lucas.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's why Lucas responded when he did was it the Phantom Menace? And they had the consulate there with all the species.
Right.
If you look when they're talking, there's a pod there with all ETs.
Yep.
So it was like a thing going back and forth between them, but which I think is cool.
Yeah, that's neat. That's fun.
So we did see that E.T., while he's attempting to read a magazine, also brings that plant back to life. So we get the idea now that he's got powers.
Yeah.
So the kids actually go to school the next day. And I just noticed that the older brother took a bus, Elliot took his bike, and Gertie basically got driven by the mother. So I'm like they must go to different schools or something, because it's like I don't understand why it makes sense for them all to go to school a different way.
Unless like were some of them in high school and some of them in grade school?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like,
yeah,
they're in different parts of town, maybe.
could
That's
be
possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the older brother and Gertie definitely went to different schools. There's
Yeah.
a big
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Not that it matters. It was just something that I picked up on, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, okay, bro takes the bus, and I'm going to school on my bike.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I always had to take the bus, and my dad drove my sisters to school.
That's weird.
And I was like, this is bullshit. Well, we went to 2 different high schools because I went to public. No, that's the other thing. I went to like shitty public school, and they went to like the ritzy like Catholic high schools.
Okay.
And and I had to walk through metal detectors at 7 a.m. and freaking take the bus.
Were you the last kid?
Yeah, I was the first kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like, yeah, we clearly fucked up with this one.
Yeah, so he's
better.
already beyond repair. Let's just concentrate on these 2.
Yeah,
There's hope for the others.
Yeah. They're like, let's put them into private school.
Right. That's basically what it was.
Catholic school. Maybe they won't be as fucked up.
This
That's
kid's still
great.
listening to his fucking ET record.
Yeah, so I mean, ET stays home. He's raiding a fridge. He's drinking beer. He's watching TV. He's having a good old time. Playing with a speak and say. That seems like a worthwhile toy. I learned he hates potato salad.
I'm with him there.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure Mike is too.
Me too.
Any of that mayonnaise-based shit, get that out of here.
Damn, I like potato salad. I like Amish style macaroni salad.
Oh,
I'd rather eat Reese Pieces I found in the middle of the woods. Potato salad.
that have
fucking
clear,
raccoon shit on them, everything.
that have clearly passed through an extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
So, I got a little confused by this next scene. It's the frog scene. They're talking about dissection. This is the craziest dissection I've ever heard of. I mean, the teacher was talking about doing it basically live. So like,
Yeah.
About like seeing the heart beating. He's describing this when and stuff like that. And they all have their frogs, which are clearly alive. They're in jars, and they're dropping cotton balls of chloroform. Which I also thought was interesting. Chloroform in a school.
Yeah, handing kids chlor. Yeah, somebody needs to talk to that teacher.
I know,
See what
right?
else he
That would
uses that
never
chloroform
happen in my
for.
school.
Yeah.
The assholes in my class, we would all be like fucking shoving it in each other's faces and fucking,
Getting high on it.
But at the same time, on my second viewing, I realized that this was a scene where they were describing the emotional connection between the two characters, between Elliot and E.T., because he had an emotional reaction to what they were about to do to these frogs that seemed to come out of nowhere. And he dumped them all out of the jars, turned the classroom into chaos, and then mimicked something that E.T. was watching on TV.
The Quiet Man with John Wayne.
Yeah. He did that little dance with the girl, just like he was watching on the TV. Stood on that kid's back and kissed her.
Come on, hey, that's a pretty pimping move.
I know.
Stood on that guy's back.
That big kid just laid there. I would have been like, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird to say this, but that little girl grew up to be a Playboy playmate. You know that, right?
Erica Laniak. I was just going to say that.
Oh. I didn't look her up.
She's in a bunch
of
movies.
The girl that pops out of the cake in Under Siege.
In Under Siege, yes.
Get out. Holy shit. Yeah, she's awesome.
I have that Playboy.
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, there she is. They have her listed as the pretty girl. So yep. And I can see from the picture, you're right. That is the same person. Wow. That's a cool connection. So mom gets home with Gertie, completely oblivious to E.T. He's like in the living room. He's walking behind her. She's knocking him over with the refrigerator door.
Isn't E.T. shit faced at this point?
Yeah. Gertie's like, as soon as he gets hit with the door and falls over, she's like, I wanted you to meet somebody, but I think you just killed him. or something like that. or I think you killed him already.
I think you killed him.
But like, she's barely listening. She thinks she's talking about what's on the TV. You know?
Yeah, she's clearly mom of the year. She's
bitching about how much the groceries cost. She's putting them away. She takes a phone call. She's upset. She's like, we are talking about Elliot, right? Like, she's confused by the call, like, and the behavior because he doesn't act like whatever they described on the phone.
Yeah.
And she leaves the kid alone, which that's nothing new in the 80s. That happened to us kids all the time. It's like, don't leave the house. We're going to go for a bit, or we get ourselves off the bus, cook ourselves something to eat after school. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. The whole latchkey thing was not weird at this time in America. But now we'd be like, you left your kid alone?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'll be back in like 10 minutes. So she takes that opportunity she was busy. Man, she dressed him up, like cross-dressing or something, like a doll, treated him like a doll, put a wig on him and a hat and dress. And
he loved it. He was strutting in that shit and everything.
Yeah. I think he was clearly the RuPaul of his world, and right. He was kind of picking it out.
She taught him to talk.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like
he can talk now,
or at least she took credit for it. She's like, I taught him to do that.
Yeah.
And Elliot doesn't question it at all. She showed him what a telephone was, and he's smart enough to understand the connections of it. And
she got a lot done in an afternoon.
She sure did.
But Elliot, what the hell was he doing this whole time? Like,
I have no idea. But E.T. had seen a comic which showed like one of the characters using a device that created a signal to put out. So like he was inspired by his day alone. Even though he had an emotional connection with Elliot that kind of fucked up his day. he was inspired to build a device to where he could send a message home. And he explains this to Elliot, you know, very simply, you know, now that he understood a few words, E.T. phone home, and he points to the sky. And I thought that was pretty effective. You know, really, it's like I never would have understood this as a kid. You know what I mean? Just put those pieces of it. Oh, he's gonna make a phone call. I've been like that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But it's like logically, this movie's making sense to me as I'm watching it now. I'm like, oh, okay. So there is a real progression here, and I only say that to say that it appeared to be written pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think their connection was more just like what they felt.
Right.
I don't think they like there was like thoughts
Yeah.
going on there. So it is interesting. How did they know what to bring to make that device?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that ET was just pointing his bony, glowy finger at things.
Yeah.
Like I'll take one of that, one of that, one of
Yeah.
that. You know.
His weird, oddly bulbous finger
Yeah.
too. And like these government guys are like breaking all sorts of like privacy laws and so forth. They're like rolling through the town in a van with like
Unmarked
dishes
van.
and so forth.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
listening to conversations inside homes, you know, and they zero in on this conversation and they think they might be talking about, you know, the extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The extra testicle.
Yeah.
That's Clint's fault. Clint gave me that name.
that was a joke when I was in like middle school or something. You know?
Clint said
Yeah,
that's what they used to call him in grade school.
No. Yeah.
Did you notice though aside from the mom though, they never show any adults' faces. It's always from like the waist down or like
Yeah.
over their shoulder.
That's
And
true.
that was all just supposed to be because, you know, like how kids kind of like viewed adults and how
Yeah.
adults just kind of like were there and to like get in your
So
way.
yeah, Spielberg shot mostly at ET's eye level.
Yeah.
I read that.
Yeah. And I did kind of get that impression, you know, especially with that opening scene, which is, I guess, the reason why we got the crotch shot.
Crotch shot.
Yeah.
Of
It's their distrust of adults, and you know, it's like a coming of age thing.
Yeah.
Story, and it's, you know, kind of like about rebelling against like growing up and stuff like that, because adults suck, let's face it.
Yeah. So I mean, this is generally where I quit taking notes, but I did find it interesting that they had to devise a plan to get ET out of the house in order to get up to the mountain to make his phone call, and they used Halloween for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we got Elliot dressing up kind of like what was he, a zombie? Kind of looked like a zombie makeup, but I don't remember exactly.
Like yeah, I just remember he was real pasty. That's all I remember.
Yeah. We had the older brother, you know, dressed up. I thought
He was like a hobo. Wasn't he like a hobo?
he almost looked like a character out of A Clockwork Orange, but he had like a knife through his head, so I couldn't quite figure out what he was doing. Maybe it was a pirate. I don't know.
Yeah.
And of course they threw a sheet over ET, you know, and
it said it was Gertie, which
clearly it's not, you know,
No.
and Mom's so oblivious, you know,
they're
just so cute.
The fucking leopard outfit.
Yeah, she came out.
She's on the prowl herself that night.
Drunk. Yeah, she was just
Kids,
like
get out, go trick or treating.
Yeah, she came out all Catwoman
she's just
there.
a cougar in every sense of the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got the ghost that's as wide as a mini fridge.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's Gertie.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Like, what the hell did Gertie eat?
Yeah, for sure. And so they're walking him down the street and acting like it's nothing. Gertie's already left the house. They pan to her, basically waiting up halfway up the mountainside with a bicycle, wearing the sheet for some reason. So that's the goal. They get there. Elliot, you know, they load him on the bike and they take off for the woods. And at one point, you know, ET uses his his power to like telekinetically lift them, and they glide a little bit in one area to get to a clearing that makes sense. Wrecks the bike. And they set up this machine, and immediately I'm thinking, where the fuck were all the parts? They weren't on the bike. E.T. was in the bike. So were they already up there? Are you
talking about? Is that when you get that iconic like them flying like in front of the moon shot?
Yeah.
That was like the Amblin logo. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I didn't see how the parts got up there, which was just a hole. It's just a hole for me. It doesn't really matter. But I got to point it out because I noticed it. And I build this weird like Rube Goldberg contraption. That's like with a turntable and a saw blade, and
and that
they were taking the
that
boards
game
out of the speaking spell and
speaking spell. Yeah.
Speaking spell must have been the signal.
Umbrella.
Using the umbrella almost like a satellite dish. You know what I mean? And it's like I didn't really understand how it worked or what it was supposed to do. And
yeah, I don't think the science is sound behind that device, but
yeah.
I can suspend disbelief enough that ET knew what he was doing.
Morning comes. Right. Kids are home except for Elliot. He wakes up on the mountainside because they were waiting to see if his friends were going to come back to pick him up. I guess they never did. ET's nowhere to be seen. I guess he looks around a bit, can't find him. He goes home. She's talking to the cops, filling out a missing persons report, all upset. Closes the fridge. He's standing right there, gets upset, but she's super happy to see him, that type of thing. And they're saying, that he lets everybody know that they have no idea where he is. They go out looking for him, find him like basically looking like he's dead, laying in like a creek bed. Like pale.
Yeah.
Like
looking like bird shit.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a turd anymore. He
he looks like a bird
just
turd.
Different kind of turd.
Instead of a human turd.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's laying on the floor in the bathroom, looking like he's gonna die. Elliot's clearly feeling what he's feeling. Mom sees him for the first time. And this is kind of around where we get like this jumpiness that I didn't understand. Next thing we know, everybody fucking knows this thing is there. You've got the house being tented like they're getting ready to fumigate for roaches. And they've got like their little polytunnels coming off the house hooked up to the van. You've got like the government people on the inside. I'm like, a lot of stuff would have had to go into place.
Yeah.
For any of this to happen, they would have like they're treating it like a quarantine. They would have had to evacuate half the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of picked on that. I was like, how the fuck did all this just happen? You know what I mean? We just jumped to it. Boom, right there we are. So
why are they dressed like astronauts?
That was crazy.
We said that too. So I was like, those aren't hazmat suits. Those guys are fucking.
Like right. They had hazmat suits then.
And they even said NASA on them.
Yeah.
Like,
that was a weird choice.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was really trippy when they were like going through the window. Like, remember they had like the blind thing,
and
and suddenly the astronaut guy's like reaching through the window. I think that happened. Anyway, just really trippy.
Sounds like something that happened.
To see astronauts just walking around your neighborhood, it's pretty trippy.
Yeah, it's like they said, hey, we're gonna like walk into the house and scare the shit out of this woman. Let's put them in like astronaut, suits. Want her to think we're in space, And Mike did notice when they had their like little mobile lab thing set up inside the house that they're wearing like these respirator type masks, but like the hoses are just going down their back.
The back is just dangling, not connected to anything.
Really?
It's just dangling, swinging. I think they even said that on IMDb too. But it's like it's put like a fake box or something to make it like there's a little respirator. Or
it's
like so basically
hook it up to your ass or something.
Air that that the whole suit's trying to protect you from.
Oops.
So yeah. Anyhow, we all really know where this is going. E.T.'s dying. They're trying to save him. They're doing all these terrible things to him to try to, keep him going and revive him. Elliot's getting upset, acting like they're hurting him. So you're gonna kill him.
Yeah. Well, why would they think that human medicine would work on ET?
Right.
I always did think that was weird.
It's a little strange, like they clearly felt they knew something about his physiology.
Yeah.
Because
Or they were just winging it. Like, we'll just
he's
throw it all. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. But I mean, he's on our planet. He's eating our food. He's breathing our air. So it's like maybe there's enough similarity between us that some things will bridge that species barrier.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, he basically they separate at one point. Like their heartbeats are no longer in alignment. Their vitals become separate again because ET's breaking off. You know what I mean? Basically to die. Which this is pretty well, I think, where a lot of people would get upset. Like I felt it here, at 45 years old. I was like, oh fuck, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
I'm like if I think I made a comment in like the group chat. I'm like, if I were 10 years old watching this thing, I'd be crying my effing eyes out right now.
Right.
It's like
Hence the name, for fuck's sake. Well, it wasn't that bad. Oh my god.
And like, there's a lot of screen time between when ET dies and when he, comes back to life. Like, so, like that scene, it lingers.
Yeah.
Like, and it kind of feels, first time you watch it, it kind of feels like it's wrapping up, and you're like, you got to be shitting me. This is how this movie ends, because like, it didn't at the time seem like that was what they were going for, like that little twist.
Yeah.
They really make you kind of like think about it for a while.
Oh, for sure. And you get some exposition from Keys. You finally see his face, and he
Peter
talks.
Coyote.
Yeah. And he talks to Elliot, and you kind of learn it's like, I knew they existed. He's like, they came to me as well.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment,
I almost see him and Elliot as like the same, like Keys is like Elliot grown up. Like there's something, I mean, not literally, but like,
right.
It, there's some sort of like connection there.
Yeah, they had a similar experience, and that's why Keys kind of identifies with him and speaks to him differently than he speaks to everybody else, and tries to get on his level. But Elliot did the thing that he never did, and that was actually develop a bond with the creature. So he probably only saw one as a kid, but Elliot had the strange circumstances where one just stuck around for a while, and he managed to develop this connection with it, which is pretty compelling and cool when you think about it from that small little microcosm of those two people in the same room together. But yeah, I don't really remember sequence of events, but they're basically gonna like cryogenically store him and like ship him off or something. I don't know. There was a bunch of like what looked like dry ice, gas coming out of that thing they stuck him in. But like Elliot realizes that he's not dead because the plant that died came back to life, and he turned around to realize that his heart was glowing inside the device, and he had to create a distraction for them to think that nothing had changed, because when everybody came back into the room, he cries over the top of it, making a scene. But he gets to his brother as quick as he can. He's like, we got to get it. We got to save him. We got to get him out of here, because he just somehow knows that they're coming back for him, So we learn a little bit more that the alien creatures, when they get close together, you know what I mean? That
yeah. I'll actually take it a step farther. I actually think that that's what was killing ET, because they never established like why did he start dying all of a sudden.
I was going to say that too.
I think it was like the more time he was away from
his
own kind,
people,
his planet or whatever.
It was the potato salad.
Or the potato salad. That would kill anybody. Who knows how long it was in there? Didn't even check the expiration date.
No.
Mary probably bought that last summer. Stupid wench.
Yeah, before her husband went to Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I got that impression as well.
That was the husband's potato salad, and she just never threw it away because she was sentimental.
Yeah. That bond between all of them was broken when they left. And so it lingered for a bit, but the longer he was without it, the weaker he got and the sicker that he got. So he basically, was dying from that. And I think Elliot basically knew that when he realized he wasn't dead, that they were on their way back. And that would be really tough, I think, for a kid to understand, watching this, like to get that part of it, maybe. Or maybe I was just a dumb kid. Like, I would not have gotten that as a kid. I can tell you that right now. I would not have gotten that.
No. I mean, especially as like, we were either 4 or 5 years old sitting in the theater when we saw this. There's no way that we were going to catch that.
Yeah.
This wasn't Lady and the Tramp, type stuff. Like simple Disney stuff that was easy to digest.
His brother just devises the simple plan of, I'm going to put on one of these suits and I'm going to get in that van and I'm going to drive away with E.T.
Yeah.
So, and they do try to stop him. And we get some classic Spielberg scene shooting here, where I was telling Mike in the chat when we watched it that it was very reminiscent of Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indy's getting dragged behind the truck.
Mm-hmm.
These spacesuit guys getting dragged behind the van inside the polytube,
right?
And all at once they're not there anymore, so I guess they all fell off. But yeah. They end up wrecking that van and meeting up with some other kids, I guess, and taking bikes the rest of the way and avoiding this whole car chase thing that's happening with the government agents trying to catch them. Did you see what was written on the side of the car?
The cars. U.S. government.
Yeah.
Like, it was like so generic. It wasn't even.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't like an actual agency or anything. It was just government.
Yeah. And I guess E.T. is at full strength now. Like, his battery life is like all the way up because he lifts the entire group of bicycles to fly them to.
Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say, though, like, no movie has made suburban bike riding look cooler than this movie.
Yeah.
When like all the authorities are chasing after them, and they're it's kind of believable because these kids live in that neighborhood. Those government doesn't.
Yeah.
They know all the back alleys and the hills and all that stuff, and I don't know, it's just cool.
Yeah. And we had a kind of a weird jump here. I don't know if they took off like right before dusk, but by the time they get where they're going, it's basically dark.
It's nighttime.
Like, that seemed to happen awfully quick, in my opinion. And I was like, oh fuck, it's nighttime now. They weren't like flying their bikes for hours. So it must have been close to dusk when this whole chase scene started. But they do get there. Fast forward, ship lands. E.T.'s gonna go. Suddenly, all sorts of people start showing up. Like Gertie shows up out of nowhere. I'm like, what the hell's she doing here? It's like, well, Mom must be somewhere. She didn't run there. Like, she hopped on her pogo stick and she just made her way up. So, but she wanted to say goodbye. And we get the heartwarming scene between Elliot and E.T. where, like, now it's not a physical ouch where he had cut his finger and E.T. fixed it. It's one inside. He's like, ouch. And they kind of part ways. And what I thought was strange was it was almost like, did E.T. ask him to go with him?
Yeah.
He's like, stay.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going.
He's like, my mom's right over there.
Yeah, this has been cool and everything, but it's like, I'm still a kid and I kind of like this situation. So.
Yeah.
We had fun with the finger and all.
Like, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
But we gotta part ways here.
I'm not gonna lose my virginity to one of you finger puppets. Like.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
is that my future? I'm gonna marry one of you ETs.
I don't know.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So I thought that was a little interesting aspect that was even like made part of the story. Oh, hey, come. Come with me.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I'm gonna stay.
I'm a child ET.
Yeah. Yeah. But
But the John Williams score completely makes that scene. Like I love this movie, but
yeah.
you can even watch it on YouTube. Like it's the same scene, but they take the music out of it,
Mhm.
and like with the music, everyone except Mike included, it's like this.
The
it's
score
this very,
is amazing. I mean,
well,
because
that scene is very powerful
but
and
I
emotional.
still think like maybe John Williams used like music from, because there was parts where if you didn't look what you were looking at on the screen, you would swear you were watching Raiders, or in
Yeah.
some parts even Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like you had that kind of music going, and I was like,
But like
Yeah.
if you watch that same scene with the music
Oh,
not, it like it loses all its emotion.
Without a
and
doubt.
it's actually kind of weird.
yeah, without a doubt.
But Jaws is the same way, really. Like there's you take that music out of it, it's not even half as scary as
No,
when you don't the don't you know.
Music adds so much to the movies. It's
does.
unreal how, like I said, you don't realize how effective these scenes are until you take the music away and say,
Right.
wow, that's
Yeah.
But I mean, John Williams, what a legend, you know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
like he was in his prime here, like
Yeah.
master of his craft, doing some of his the best work he
without
ever
a
did.
doubt.
Yeah.
And orchestrated scores are something that we don't see a lot anymore. You know what I mean? George Lucas loved to do that. Spielberg loved to do that. But we don't get a lot of modern movies that have that. There was something, these movies almost have a more classic feel to me as a result of having that type of score placed on it.
Yeah. And there's no like hip hop remix of something.
No.
Just throw it's in the background. Like
that's right.
But even like who was I watching show one time? You ever hear of DJ Ashba? He's a guitarist. He's played in Guns N' Roses with
Okay.
6 a.m. He showed like his home studio one time, and a lot of guitarists, like these metal guys, and he's like, I'm scoring right now. I think it was at the time Eli Roth's The Green Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just got such a soundboard and with his guitar and everything that he's not only creating just guitar sounds, but like all sounds, like you would think some parts are an orchestra, but it's all computer.
Yeah.
But that's true. Like very few movies have that big orchestra doing it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Like that end scene, Spielberg actually edited that end scene to go with the score. Like, but most of the times they would, like the guy making the composing or whatever would just have to like look at the footage and kind of compose the music to what he was looking at. But they did it backwards for some reason, and I don't know. I think that's why it works so well.
John fucking Williams. He was like, "Fuck you, you follow me."
That could be true.
Here's the music. Now you can make your movie around my music.
That is interesting. That is backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder why he made that choice.
The thing that I heard was just that he tried to do it. They tried to do it the regular way, and like it just wasn't working out. It just wasn't gelling. He wasn't happy with the results. So he basically just took the footage away and was just like, do your thing based upon what you know is going to happen at the end. And they just took that score and he edited the scene
to make it fit.
Shot everything and edited to make it fit with the music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, maybe that's part of why it felt a little choppy. I don't know. But
and some of it's backwards too. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty weird. It's not. I don't think that's a common film practice at all.
No, because I always hear about it the other way. Hey, that's the movie in a nutshell. Mike, you got anything extra you want to throw in? Do we know how much it costs to make this?
Yeah, we
I do.
Okay.
But let's see if our numbers match up.
It budgeted at $10.5 million,
That's what I got to.
and
Said a little
box
over 10.
office was $792.9 million.
Wow! Holy shit!
You have more than I did, but roughly, I'm in the same ballpark. I had
Yeah.
like 660 million, but yeah, whatever.
This is off of Wikipedia.
Like, I wonder if that made any type of record at the time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It's like it seems like it would. I mean,
it had a legendary box office run. It was in the theaters for like you could see E.T. for a year.
Okay.
Like it was in the theaters for like a year.
Okay.
Like over a year.
Yeah, because that's like $750 million. I mean, that's
that's
a ton. Like it's an almost unfathomable amount of money that this made in a year's time. That's crazy. Wow. Huh. Mike was saying something interesting about some of the ET effects. Weren't you saying that they had a couple of little people that they used for this?
They had two little people. Then they had an actual 12-year-old boy with no legs.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. Somebody, I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. Wilkinson or how fucked up is that? That kid's got no legs. He's perfect.
Yeah, let's bring him in for the scenes where we knock him over.
Yeah, part with the refrigerator door.
Like I don't know. I'd love to know which scenes were different. Like I know usually all the walking scenes had to be one of the little people because he's got like that waddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a safe bet since the kid didn't have legs.
Yeah. So, well, you never know. He could have found a way to like kind of do it. You know.
I think that they had the kid specifically for the scenes that involved like ET's hands and stuff. Yeah. I think I remember watching a documentary with that, like the scene where like he's making the planet spin around and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was that
makes sense.
The kid, yeah,
because ET's arms seemed long for his body.
Yeah.
And
like when he was finger banging Elliot and fucking.
Jesus.
I think that might have been the look they were going for though, and maybe that's why they did that. No. So they could put him in the suit, and then we'd have like these like normal length arms coming off of this short.
The short little, yeah. It's supposed to be like disproportionate.
Yeah,
I guess.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought maybe they did it whenever he was like standing behind something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
could work.
I guess sort of, but the arm movements make sense. Awesome. All right. Anything else you want to throw in there, Mike?
I have no words. I like Adam a little less now that I had to watch this movie again. And I will go on record saying I will probably never watch this movie again in my life.
I don't know. Are we ready to rate this thing? Do we want to let our guests go first?
Of course.
I don't know how you rate movies, Adam, but
Adam, when you were a kid, did you buy the ET finger?
I don't know if that was I didn't have a job, but
probably the most phallic toy fucking ever created.
I don't know if I had
popular among moms. I know that.
I had the little plushie toy.
Okay.
And the lunchbox and a bunch of other things. All right. How do you guys usually rate movies? Or
we usually rate out of 10, but
out of 10. Okay. All right. Well, all right. I'll just go through my little spiel here. Okay. E.T. is movie magic in a nutshell, right? Movie magic is like elements of surprise, childlike wonder, special effects and tone, To me, this movie has it all, and it's Spielberg is the undisputed king of movie magic. Like if you're anywhere in our age bracket, like his movies basically made up your childhood. Steven Spielberg, like in one way or the other. If it's not this movie, I'm sure that there's 3 or 4 others that fit the bill. I think I think Dee Wallace. I think this is her best performance. I mean, she's great in everything, but I think she's the best in this movie. And then lastly, what did I want to say? One second. I don't know. It's just it's a classic, legendary movie. It's all about childhood and growing up, and you'll never have that sense of joy and wonder as you had when you were a kid, like ever again. Like that's it. That's like the best part of life is like being a kid. That's why this movie is like so relatable to me, because like the whole movie is basically rebelling against adolescence and being an adult and all that stuff. So, and that's all that stuff is encapsulated in one movie. So, with all that being said, I give it, if we're going out of 10, I give it a solid 10 out of 10. 10 glowy magic fingers out of 10.
All right. Mike, do you want me to go or you want to go?
You go. I have to.
He's got to wash the taste of what I just said out of his mouth.
I got to try and get all that out of my head.
I feel like I missed out. Like I wish I had the full picture of this movie when I was a kid. I feel like if I had that, like I would have a very similar feeling to this movie as what you just described. But I don't have that luxury, so I have to look at it as an adult, coming back and watching it kind of after the fact, even though I had a general idea of what this movie was kind of about. I felt it was an interesting movie. It is thought-provoking if you understand what's happening. Story was good. Scene choices were all right. Budget seems like it was used good. Had some good visuals. We got some things that are like epic, man. I mean, they've existed into pop culture for a long time. Like the famous bicycle in front of the moon, man. I mean, it's like, and Drew Barrymore screaming. The camera work was pretty good. I mean, everything kind of made sense. Sequence of events, the pacing was pretty good. Actors were fine. I mean, especially Dee Wallace. She was great. I'll say that the analog effects were okay. I think they did the best they could with like the green screen stuff for like the bicycles flying and things like that, or were they doing blue screen at the time? I don't know. I mean, that took a little stretch of the imagination for me. I consider it to be a memorable movie. I would probably recommend it to a friend if they had kids, basically to watch it with their kids. And would I watch it again? Probably, but only with my kid. You know what I mean? Like I would show this to her. So I gave it a 20 out of 30. So that's 67% or a 6.7 out of 10.
That's not bad. That's
I find that to be a respectable
like
score.
A B-.
Yeah, and it would have got a couple more points, but like I said, there was some choppiness in it where it's like the flow was just disrupted. Like things that didn't make sense to me were happening. It's like, well, how did this character fucking get here? They just chopped that part of the movie out. How did all this stuff get assembled in their yard? And the neighbors aren't standing outside going, "What the fuck's going on here, guys?" It's like there was just. And I know that was just editing choices for flow.
Yeah.
But I feel
the
like
neighbors get involved. Like, do they have neighbors? Like
you see houses nearby, but
That's a good point.
Yeah. But it just felt like there was probably stuff that got cut out to get the runtime down on this thing. And just I feel that was probably expositional things that somehow my brain needed, but nobody else did.
Yeah.
Mike, go for it.
All right. Okay. I have no love for this movie. And like Adam said, Spielberg, yes, shaped pretty much everybody's childhood. Maybe he was going through a bad time. Maybe it was a woman involved. Somebody fucked him up here when he made this. He gave us a movie that was shot at fucking ball level. So we got, pretty much the whole movie. Plot holes galore. The worst looking alien I've ever seen in my life that looks like a fucking 5-year-old made out of paper mache, those fucking wet fucking strips. Dee Wallace basically played a fucking whore, fucking a bad mom, fucking nothing special. The spaceship looked like a big titty. Let's see. I think Drew Barrymore was on crack when she filmed this.
Wow.
There was something about her, either on alcohol but as a kid, she was like addicted to like either alcohol or drugs or something. But not that has anything to do with the movie. If anything,
she was like 4.
Read it. Look it up.
All right. Take your word for
it. What else can I say to shit on this fucking movie?
Reese's Pieces. I hate peanut butter.
Yeah, I stopped eating them after this movie. They took a candy I liked. I was like, fuck it. If that fucking loser alien is eating them. Like, even the other ETs thought he was a loser. They fucking left him. They're like, fuck this dick. So, I didn't like it as a kid. I don't like it now. It's boring. The best dialogue in the movie was penis breath. That's it. I got no use for this movie. I'll never watch it again. I gave it a big fat steaming 0.0.
Oh my God.
Wow. 0.
There's
Mr.
nothing.
Blutowski, 0.0.
Jeez,
oh my God. Wow.
Scorched earth.
Well, after that glowing review,
I'm going to go watch another alien movie to get the taste of ET out of my mouth again.
Well, all right. I don't feel like there's much of an agreement among us here. I feel like I kind of
all over the spectrum there.
I feel like I kind of extended an olive branch there, but Mike took it away from me and slapped me with it.
And once again, fuck you, ET, for getting me slapped at Disney World.
I think we should plug a little bit. Adam, let's plug your Hormonal Werewolves.
Oh, cool. Thanks. We got just a YouTube show called Hormonal Werewolves. You can find us on YouTube. Just type in Hormonal Werewolves. Absolutely nothing else will pop up except that. Pretty much. And you can find us on Facebook, Hormonal Werewolves 3 on Facebook.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I do occasionally check that out. I would also like to plug a couple of our other things, like the Amityville retrospective. Ryan Joyner does that mostly with Nicole Fiss. The goal, I think, is to talk about every single Amityville movie that there is. I don't know how far they're going to get with that, but currently
before they lose their mind.
Wow, that's going to take forever.
I know.
A lot of bad movies.
He's placed his first goal pretty reasonably. He wants to get through like the original series of films. So before they started going off the path, you know what I mean, where they weren't like studio films anymore. Even that, will take a little while, and I think they're up to like part 5 now, something like that. So those episodes ought to be getting released pretty soon. And of course, live streams every Saturday night. Now that was always done on the Hamityville Horror Podcast channel. We are also doing that on the Scream Until You Like It YouTube channel, so you can catch that multiple places. We're simulcasting right now before I make the decision at some point to completely move it. But at any rate, that's about it. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Adam, and talking about this beloved movie of yours.
Beloved by some, right?
Yeah, and
No.
and I'm very sorry that it got shit on so hard, but
Well, I was expecting it.
I know you were.
That was my goal going into this. I was like, how do I shit on this movie for 2 hours and still keep Adam as my friend?
You succeeded.
Yeah. So
No, I had a blast. Thank you.
yeah, fantastic. I'm super glad you came on, and actually, I'm kind of glad we talked about this movie because if it had not been for this disagreement existing, I don't think it ever would have ended up on the show. So I'm happy that it happened. So on behalf of myself, Evil Mike, and Adam, and assholes at Disneyland, I say,
Fuck you.
remember.
Smile, you son of a...